Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to paint a super fun strawberry. It's my daughter's favorite fruit and they're just so beautiful and it would be a really fun subject to paint. So I'm using the 8x10 panel, primary colors plus black and white, and I'm only using a few simple brushes. So you could use like a large square brush for painting in the background color and stuff like that, and then a medium square brush for smaller details. And then a couple of round brushes, like maybe a large, or not like large, but larger, like a medium size round brush, and then a smaller size round brush. So it doesn't matter what size you use. This is a 10 round, and then I have a 4 round, and then I have a 1-inch flat and a 1/2 inch flat. So but anything similar will work totally fine, and even something different might work. So let's start with the shape first. And I'm going to use the medium round first just to get the bulk of the shapes in. And I'm using red and white mixed together. And we are just going to jump right in. Now the shape of the strawberry is kind of like a heart-ish type shape. So what I'm going to do is I want it slightly angled to the right. So I'm just going to go, okay, this is the top of my strawberry here. You can come down a couple inches from the top right corner in from the far right side, and then the top, and then just kind of make a little mark and then pull a diagonal line going down to the left and try to end at about the same spot. Have a couple inches over and a couple inches up. That way it's kind of centered. And then you can build the strawberry from there. So I'm going to have 1/2 come up. It's almost like sort of triangular, so you can kind of pull up and then come down to this tip. And then every strawberry is a different shape, so like literally there are some strawberries that are shaped like really weird. It's actually one of the fun things about eating strawberries is like some of them are just like super huge and awkward, and then some are smaller and some are just shaped really weird. So let it be kind of funky. It's going to make it more authentic because that's how real strawberries are. They're just kind of random. So see how I can pull the shape? It's almost like a heart. So cool. And then I'm rounding the bottom off a bit here too. Let it be kind of funky. And then you can just start by coloring it in with that red color. It's just red with a little bit of white. So get the color in. And I might want it a little lighter on the left because this is where I'm going to have my highlight. So you can add a little extra white on the left side by just dipping your brush in the white, and you can put it directly on the canvas, or you can mix it on your palette and then put it on, whatever you want to do. But notice how it looks a little lighter, and then I'm going to make it a little darker on the right by just not using white. So we're already playing with different shades, and that's the whole game of painting. It's just different shades. So this side is where I'm going to have my highlight on the left, and then the right is going to be my shadow side. So now that we have that in there, we can let it dry a little bit so that when we layer upon it, it's a little easier. Just to make it a little funner, we're going to add a little greenery to the top. So I'm going to clean and dry my round brush. I'm still going to use the same brush, and then I'm just making a medium shade of green. I'm going to use blue with a little bit of yellow, just to get a good solid green color. And then from here, I'm just going to pull from the top of the strawberry. You can just make little dabs, like kind of dab at the top. Then you can pull up and then release. Push, pull up, and then release. So we're just making like little, there are little crazy leaves that come off. Push, and then release. I like doing my leaves like that. You can do it as many as you want. Strawberries are kind of crazy. So see how we have nice little, okay, now we have some greenery coming off of it. It looks kind of fun. And you can do that however you want, like however you want to get the color and the shapes in there is totally fine. And you can kind of fine tune it. And then we don't want to get too crazy with it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is start adding some more shadows. So I'm going to clean the brush. I'm just taking it in the water and, you know, wiggling it around. And to make it more, like a little bit more of a shadow color, I'm going to have red with a little bit of blue. So it's still predominantly red, but it should look darker. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that at the bottom, or the far right, and the bottom tip here, so that we're getting a little bit more of a shadow. And then just rub it on. If you want it a little darker, just pull in a little more blue. And yeah, it's going to look kind of purple because that's what you get. But purple is a great, simple shadow color to use. So I like using it because it gives you the shadow without making the color mixing too complicated, because you're just adding a little bit of blue to your red. And you can make the color more complicated, but it also works really well as a shadow color, so it's fine. Sometimes I feel like people get overwhelmed with all the shades and the color mixing. So I try to keep it that simple as possible. And I feel like you get, you know, really similar results and you're not making it too complicated. I'm also going to shadow underneath the stem or the greenery by just painting some of that purple under the leaves. And then I'll want to add more red to my shadow color as I pull it closer to the center. So see how it's like I'm darkening that whole area, but it's getting less dark as I come to the center of the shape. So we're not too crazy. And then I can clean the brush entirely, just in case, because it's still going to be picking up that color. Clean it and dry it, and then you can come through the center with some of that pure red to transition into that light pink or the lighter red color that we have there. And you can even take some of that pure red around the edge of the shadows underneath the leaves here, or around the edge of the strawberry, however you want to do it. And I'm just sort of dabbing that color in there, however feels fun for me to add it. Let how your hand move how it wants to. You know, don't make it tedious. It doesn't have to be. So if you feel like you want to get your colors a little more neutral, you can always just add a little more red and kind of soften out that lighter shade. So I kind of feel like I added a little too much white right out the gate on the far left side. So I'm just going to brush a little extra red over it to make it a little bit more toned down. We will add highlights, but I just don't want it to be too broad. We want them to be really specific where the highlights go. So now that's kind of a little more muted, but it gives it a nice rich color, so that's good. Now we can let that dry a little bit, but I'm just going to keep working with the canvas like we're working with it while it's kind of wet. Now I'm going to create a seed color, which we want to be like a dark color. So I'm going to take red and blue to make a purple. This time I want more blue. So notice the difference in the purple with more blue in it. And then I can take a little bit of yellow in there as well. And notice how that looks kind of green. So I don't want it too green. Might add a little more red back in. So you can play with it, but it should look kind of brown, maybe like greenish brownish. And then you can add just a touch of white to it as well. So we just want to create like a seed color. So play with it. I'm just using red and yellow. And then you got your blue in there too. But mix it until it looks kind of brownish. Doesn't really matter that much, like exactly what shade. You can kind of play around there. And then what I'm going to do is add the seed by just coming in at the bottom and making little marks, little dabs with the paint, like little dabs. like that. Now, if we want to make it a little brighter, we can. So just to make it a little pop out a little bit more, whatever makes it easier for you. Now I'm going all the way to the tip. Now the strawberry has the tip of the strawberry tends to have more seeds, and then as the strawberry gets bigger, they spread out a little more, so we can spread them out more as we come up in the shape. And just make like little rows of them. So you definitely want to just keep going with this, adding the seeds. And if you need to, if your paint is a little too wet underneath and it's not sticking, the color isn't popping or anything, by all means, you know, just take a little break to let it dry. Or you can use my favorite thing, which is to just use a blow dryer and blow dry it so that it just goes a little quicker. That way you can just bust it out and keep painting. Because one of the biggest things I hear from people, and I'm just using the number 4 round here, I'm just popping in those seeds. You don't have to be perfect. We're just spreading them out. So now I got a decent amount of seeds on there. I'm good with that. I'm gonna go ahead and clean the brush. And then what we can do is add some highlights around the seeds. So I'm just gonna take my red and white with that same number 4 round and make a lighter shade of pink. And I want my highlights over here on the left mostly. So I'm gonna basically just make little circles around the seeds. So see how I'm going around them like a little circle? You can make it more intense if you want by adding more white into your paint or not. So see how I can just go into this area, and notice how I'm going over to the left side. Because that left side, again, that's where our highlights are. And you can even paint, like if your seeds got a little too crazy, like you have too many, you can just paint over them a little bit with your highlights. It's not that big of a deal. I just painted over this one because I'm like, that didn't really, there was a little too much extra right there. Wasn't working out. But I'm just going, and then again at the bottom part, you're getting a little more fine-tuned because they're small, they're closer together. So just adjust as you go. I'm going in and adding this, and you could always, again, add more seeds after the fact. So see, like, I kind of feel like I want to put a seed in some spots where there is no seed, and that's okay too. You can always go back in and pop in an extra seed. But notice how I'm going around those shapes. It's just giving it a little more depth. And it should just look like the pink should just look lighter than the surrounding red by a little bit. It doesn't have to be too extreme. But it can be more dramatic if you want it more dramatic. It's going to show up as much more dramatic on the right side. But I'm going to go ahead and add just a couple more little seed shapes while I'm thinking about it. So I can go in and put some extra seeds in. I'm I'm not even cleaning my brush because these colors are so adjustable. In there. And then just proceed to, you know, do this color. Maybe if it gets too crazy on the right, you can always add a little more red to your pink so that it's not as extreme, but it should show up as brighter than the first coat either way. So just make sure it's showing up as a highlight wherever you place it. Making little donuts, little circles around those seeds, and then filling in the space around that circle on the outside of that circle so that it all kind of connects and makes this fun highlight. Again, adding more red if the highlight gets too crazy and it stops like having the look that you want. I'm doling it just a little bit as I come over to the right because it's darker on the right already, which means your highlight's going to show up more on the right side relative to the foundational color that you have down there that you already have. There's that. Let there be some imperfections. I just kind of go for it. Once I know what I'm going to do, I just go for it instead of trying to make it this perfect execution. I just go, you know what, I'm just going to brush that color in there. And that's where I get my happy accidents a lot of times. It's just letting that, like letting those things happen, letting your brush kind of be a little more free. You're going to get the depth. It's going to have the effect that you want. So you might as well just go crazy and let it really be yours, you know, let it be really unique in your execution. So I've circled all of those seeds. Now I want to highlight the seeds by adding more yellow and white into my seed color. So see how that gives it like a little bit of a brighter color. So just add more yellow and white into whatever color you painted your seeds. And then just to the left side of each seed, you're going to add a dash of that highlight color. If it doesn't show up, add more yellow and white. And then just go in and dash, 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 dash. It's a little dab. You should see the first shade of the seed color. And maybe I don't do it so much like in the really shadowy section, maybe just a little bit, but not as much. And then you can get even brighter as you move to the left. And just allows them to pop out a little bit. And then if the highlight gets too much, just go back to your first color, which it just has more red and more blue and less yellow and yet less white, so it's darker. And then you can always kind of paint over the light color to tone it down, or even just go in and add a few more seeds if you still feel like, ugh, like you didn't get enough or something. So fun. Just give it a little more love. Give it a little more love. And then you can smooth anything out. Like if any of your little highlights got a little too weird or whatever, you know, come back in with your pinks and smooth out anything that you might want to smooth out. So you can always kind of tone those highlights down with more red mixed in, soften the highlight color. And again, you can add more seeds if they need to pop in anywhere. If you see any like major gaps in your strawberry. And then you can also go in with more shadows. So like I can take that red and blue maybe add a little more blue to make it a darker shadow. And then I can really go along that left edge and almost outline the left edge with that darker shade. Make sure you have some good shadows. Shadows are what really make your painting have more impact. Because if you don't have any shadow, your highlights don't really have any meaning because they don't have anything to like juxtapose against. So you gotta have that. I'm putting it like right under, all in the same spots I did the first time, just doing it again, making it a little more intense. And then, you know, clean your brush between all your little steps that you're doing. And again, maybe I want to do more shadow. So I have the mostly red with a little bit of blue so it can be more toned down. And maybe I want like this area of my strawberry a little darker so I can pull some of that darker color down around my seeds on the right side again. And just kind of make sure it looks kind of dark up in this space. So, and just underneath the greenery. So just make sure, you know, you're seeing the colors you want to see. And then on the left, I can take my highlights even more extreme by adding more white to my red, maybe even a little bit of yellow. So you have this like light, almost like peachy pink color, which is kind of fun. Having a lot of white in there just gives it a different flavor. But a lot of white, a little bit of red, tiny bit of yellow for a little, just to warm up your pink a bit. And then once you have that, I just want to focus it on the like kind of the middle left section here. And all I'm doing is re-outlining some of the seeds. So I'm just going to go to these ones that are in this space. So see, I can kind of outline some of them a little more subtly and just keep it really focused in this area right here. So it brightens it up slowly, but it's that same, you're just like making little donuts like around. So you can take that out as far as you want. Maybe I'll take it out a little further and then come in with like almost some pure white to really brighten it up, just in a really, really even smaller area. So you're just focusing down that highlight area more and more as you go. Super cool. Now to get it even brighter, you know, just clean your brush and go for, you can even go for pure white with just the teeniest little bit of red. So it's just this super pale color. And then I'm really going to hyper focus it in right here. Just maybe partially outlining some of the seeds. Just really hyper focus. So maybe I don't even take it down or up that far. I just keep it like in a really contained area. That way it really goes, oh, that's like my highlight. You know, it's like a pop right there. Now I can also do some highlighting and stuff to my greenery, which I definitely want to do. So we can clean the brush. I want to make a dark green first. So you have your yellow and blue. And remember, just clean your brush between your colors. You have your yellow and blue. And then add just a tiny bit of black to it. Make it a little darker there. And then I can take that on the underside and just dab on the underside of those leaf shapes to make it a little darker at the base of the leaves. So you just want to come in and make it a little darker and then add more yellow and white to make a brighter shade. So more yellow and white is going to make you a brighter shade. And then that can go towards the top or the tips of the leaves. And I'm just doing this really subtly, just adding a little bit of that lighter shade of green towards the top of those little strawberry leaves to the tips, and just pulling through the middle a little bit, making sure not to cover the dark colors too much. You just want to see a few shades. And then if you need to go back and add more dark green or whatever, go for it. Now you might want to add some like unique shadow colors, so I'm going to do that. I want to use blue and white. Blue with a little bit of white. And I'm going to add that to my leaves. And this is actually going to be a highlight on my leaves. So just add a little bit of that to the leaves, to the tops, just a little pop of it for fun. I love doing little pops of like funky colors. And then I'm going to use that color. Maybe even let's make it a little bit teal. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to it to make it kind of like a turquoise blue. And then I'm going to use that as a shadow color on the bottom side of the strawberry. So I'm going to come in and kind of do my little outline of the seed thing, but with this other color, with this turquoise color on the far right side. So see how that can create like a kind of a funky shade down there. And then you can just leave it just a little bit on this like one part. You don't have to take it everywhere. Kind of like we did with the highlight. So it's kind of acts as an interesting shadow color that just makes it look kind of more stylized. But we don't want to go too crazy with that. So I could also come in with like some more of that medium red where it's like mostly red, maybe just a smidge of white. And you can come around and tone down the teal, and you can just go over and reintroduce some highlights into that space. But we really want this bottom part to look more like just different. We want it to look more shadowy over here. So you can even take some of that more pinkish color and kind of put it next to the teal. Just create some fun different colors over here. So see how we're just creating a little bit more depth by adding these. I'm just putting the pink kind of around the teal, the teal paint. So it's like I'm not covering it all the way. I'm just adding the pink to it to change the shade of it a little bit. And it kind of softens that color into the space. So we still see it, but it's just a little bit more blended. And again, add more red to your brush to soften any of the colors, because the red is our base color. And you could always come in with more red to help tone down anything that you might do that you might be like, ooh, that was a little weird. So play for a little bit just to get it to do what you want it to do. But it gives it some interesting, kind of pulls the colors, the turquoise kind of pulls the colors from the leaves and brings some balance to the composition. So you have like a little bit of that color there, but it's like a little bit reflected down here too, which looks kind of cool. So, you know, you can go on with this forever. You can take your highlights even further by making like a brighter green teal color and putting that in your leaves to just put even more different shades. The more you have, the more the more depth it's gonna have. So you can take that as far as you want. You can take your seed color and do an even lighter shade, like add more yellow and white to your seed color like that brownish color we're playing with, and just go in and tap those again, those seeds. And just make some more highlights. So you have a lot of options to just keep going with it. I might even want to add just a little more, like a pop of pure white into my highlight section. Just around just a couple, this very small little area right here. So I just want to give it a little more brightness. And then I just think, you know, you can go on and make the strawberry look more and more crazy, or you could just let it go and be like, you know what, I painted a strawberry. It's pretty simple, but it kind of has a realistic quality to it, and it's super fun. So hopefully you had fun painting it. Make sure, I'm not doing like a background, but if you want to, you could just take your big brush and paint the background any color you want, or you could just leave it white. It's totally up to you. And go ahead and, you know, leave a comment. Let me know if you had fun painting the strawberry, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Bye.